Hello, this is just a quick video to demonstrate how I derived the heat capacity for TruDub's internal heat sinks and how it's different from the expected value. I'm going to be using a Kodiak 3 as my test mech. You can see I have 0 skills in it. If you look over to the right, I have 0 enhancements. Obviously, there's no quirks, no skill tree. Just to be absolutely certain, let me just hop into the skill tree. Load. Nothing activated at all, no operations, nothing was in the firepower tree. Whole lot of nothing. The loadout, what I did is I put weapons on here that deal front-loaded heat. So I don't have to worry about calculating, getting around like laser burn durations or anything. So the heat generated when I fire all weapons simultaneously is instantaneous. So you can see I have 2 LB20s, they do 6 heat each. 2 LB2s consume 0.6 heat each, and 2 ERPPCs, which is 14.5 each. I just use all these weapons because it's the most heat I could possibly generate at once without having to worry about calculating ghost heat or anything. And just the more heat I generate, the more accurate the reading will get. And you can see I have no external heat sinks. I have a standard 340, which has 10 internals, and I have nothing outside of the engine. So I have 10 TruDubs in the engine, nothing else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this into testing grounds. Canyon network. There it is. And while that's loading up, let's just look at spreadsheets. So we have our 3 weapons that I have installed. The LB20, the LB2, the ERPPC. There's their heat, 6.6. We have quantity 2 each, so I'm just summing that heat, each of these multiplied by 2, and the total heat of all of our weapons combined when fired is going to be 42.2. You can ignore this. This is if I had lasers and I wanted to calculate how much heat was dissipated during their burn duration, but since these are instantaneous heat being delivered, I don't have to worry about that. So without that a factor, our heat spike is going to be 42.2 heat regardless. So our heat sinks, obviously we don't have any TruDub, so quantity 0. These are adding nothing to our totals. We only have the 10 TruDubs installed. We know it's 0.2 dissipation per TruDub, but we're not concerned about dissipation right now. We're just looking at the capacity. So I have 1.5 in here, which is what it's supposed to be. And I have 10 of them. So that comes out to 2 dissipation and 15 capacity. And this sums them for the TruDubs plus the poor dubs, which I have no poor dubs. And then I add the 30 base capacity. So in total, we're talking 45.0 heat capacity. And our heat spike of 42.2 heat represents 93.78% of this heat capacity. So when I fire all of my weapons, all these suckers all together, generate 42.2 heat, it should consume 93 and change % of my heat bar. So let's go into game and let's see what we actually get. So I have, let me just make my weapon groups as simple as possible. I only have 1 weapon group. It's all of my weapons. They're going to fire simultaneously. I'm just going to stop at resting heat, 0%, and just fire everything. And just let's watch what the heat hits. 84% is about what I saw. So that's interesting. 84%. That's nowhere near even 90. So what I assumed initially was that TruDubs had 2.0 capacity, and that's what I always did until I looked at the game files and I saw that it didn't say that. But still, when I put in this 2.0 capacity for the TruDubs and all the calculations adjust for that, 84.4% of my heat capacity is consumed by this loadout. So I'm pretty sure, well, I'm not pretty sure, I'm absolutely certain that that's what's happening here. And just to be even more absolutely certain, I know resting heat can be below 0% on some maps. I'm assuming Canyon Network is heat neutral, like whatever environmental heat modifiers there are for it, I would assume it's 0. But just in case it isn't, I can just peck my throttle up just a little bit till it hits 1%. Just a sliver of 1%, as low as I can possibly get it on 1% heat. So that I know that my heat is within 1%. It's not below 0 or anything. And then we just do this again. And I saw 85% on my heat gauge. And so obviously we were starting at 1%, so we subtract 1 from that, we get 84%. And that, again, it matches what we expect if we have 2.0 capacity. And just as a note, if I remove these LB2s, so I don't have the LB2s anymore, and I just fire everything here, 81% heat for removing LB2s from here. 81%, and it's close. This is probably 81 and change. Remember, I started probably below 0%, so probably didn't quite reach 82. And that matches what I found in an earlier experiment when we were looking at the heat containment skill was not working on base heat capacity. I did the same thing back then with 2 LB20s, 2 ERPPCs, and I got 81%, 82 expected alpha. So several months ago, I did the same thing, and I got the same result. And yeah, so that's what I'm seeing. Let me just do this at 1%. Where are you? There you are. 82%. So yep, that's why I'm certain that the heat capacity of engine internal TruDub heat sinks, their heat capacity is 2.0, not 1.5, because the calculations don't work if I put in 1.5. So, yep, that'll do it. Thanks for listening.